Alright, hey there. So today I'm going to be taking a look at a game called Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. This is a visual novel, and if you didn't know, Lewis Carroll was a man who lived in the 1800s, and he wrote the original Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, which is commonly shortened to Alice in Wonderland. So, yeah, I think this is the original book turned into a visual novel with some very nice looking backgrounds, characters, and animations. So let's go ahead and just jump straight in. This game comes out in a few days. The developer was nice enough to give me a free key. And I'm not going to be playing through the entire game. I think I'm just going to maybe read the first 10 minutes or so, just to give you guys a first impression of what you can expect while playing Alice in Wonderland. Please wait until text is complete to displayed before saving game. Got it. Got it. Okay, so here we go. We're essentially reading the original novel, Chapter 1, Down the Rabbit Hole. And of course, Alice in Wonderland has been extremely popular, multiple movies. Pretty sure everyone has at least heard of it once in their life. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank, and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book without pictures or conversations, thought Alice. So she was considering in her own mind as well as she could, for the hot day made her feel very sleepy and stupid, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of getting up and picking the daisies, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. So, let me go ahead and resize this. Unfortunately, if the window is too large, then you can't see the little icons at the bottom of the screen. That's a little glitch. I'm sure that'll be fixed later on. This is an early copy, just letting you guys know. So here we go. Let's keep on going. The rabbit's actually a girl. Kind of like a little anime-style characters. There was nothing so very remarkable in that, nor did Alice think it was so much out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be too late." When she thought it over afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it all seemed quite natural. But then the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket and looked at it, and then hurried on. Alice started on her feet, for it flashed across her mind that she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it, and burning out of curiosity, she ran across the field after it, and was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. Alright, so Alice is going into Wonderland. Another moment, down went Alice after it, never once considering how in the world she was to get out again. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, and then dipped suddenly down, so suddenly that Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself before she found herself falling down what seemed to be a very deep well. Either the well was very deep, or she fell very slowly, for she had plenty of time as she went down to look around her and to wonder what was about to happen next. First she tried to look down and make out what she was coming to, but it was too dark to see anything. Then she looked at the sides of the well and noticed that they were filled with cupboards and bookshelves. Here and there she saw maps and pictures hung upon the pegs. She took down a jar from one of the shelves as she passed it, and it was labeled Orange Marmalade. But to her great disappointment, it was empty. She did not like to drop the jar for fear of killing somebody underneath, so managed to put it into one of the cupboards as she fell past it. Well, thought Alice to herself, after such a fall as this, I shall think nothing of tumbling downstairs. How brave they'll all think of me back home. Why, I wouldn't say anything about it, even if I fell off the top of the house, which was very likely true. Down, down, down. Would the fall never come to an end? I wonder how many miles I've fallen by this time, she said aloud. I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth. Let me see. That would be 4,000 miles down, I think. I'm sorry if I'm not reading this extremely clearly. It's kind of hard to read with this cursive writing text, but I don't know. Just a small little nitpick, I guess. For you see, Alice had learnt. Is that a word? Learnt? For you see, Alice had learnt several things of this sort in our lessons in the schoolroom, and though this was not a very good opportunity for showing off her knowledge, as there was no one to listen to her, still it was good practice to say it over. Yes, that's about the right distance, but then I wonder what latitude or longitude I've got to. Alice had not the slightest idea what latitude was or longitude either, but she thought they were nice, grand words to say. Presently, she began again. I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. How funny it'll seem to come out among the people that walk with the heads downwards. The antipathies, I think. She was rather glad there was no one listening this time, as it didn't sound at all the right word. But I shall have to ask them what the name of the country is. You know, please, ma'am, is this New Zealand or Australia? And she tried to curtsy as she spoke, fancy curtsying as you're falling through the air. Do you think you could manage it? And what an ignorant little girl she'll think me for asking. No, it'll never do to ask. Perhaps I shall see it written up somewhere. Down, down, down. There was nothing else to do. Alice soon began talking again. Dina will miss me very much tonight, I should think. Dina was the cat. I hope they'll remember her saucer of milk at tea time. Dina, my dear, I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice in the air, I'm afraid, but you might catch a bat. And that's very like a mouse, you know? But do cats eat bats, I wonder? Here Alice began to get rather sleepy and went on saying to herself in a dreamy sort of way, do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats? And sometimes, do bats eat cats? For you see, as she couldn't answer either question, it didn't much matter which way she put it. You can kind of tell that it's like an old-timey type of writing. You can certainly tell that this was written like in the 1800s, even though it's certainly understandable. Kind of feels like something I would read in like my English class. She felt that she was dozing off and had just begun to dream that she was walking hand in hand with Dina, and she was saying to her very earnestly, "Now Dina, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat?" When suddenly, thump thump, down she came upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves, and the fall was over. Oh, there's the rabbit character again. Alice was not a bit hurt. She jumped up on her feet. In a moment, she looked up, and it was all dark overhead. Before her was another long passage, and the white rabbit was still in sight, hurrying down it. There was not a moment to be lost. Away went Alice, like the wind, and was just in time to hear it say as it turned the corner, "Oh, my ears and whiskers, how late it's getting. I'm late, I'm late." She was close behind it when she turned the corner, but the rabbit was no longer to be seen. She found herself in a long, low hall, which was lit up by a row of lamps hanging from the roof. Eat me? There were doors all around the hall, but they were all locked, and when Alice had been all the way down one side and up the other, trying every door, she walked sadly down the middle, wondering how she was ever to get out again. Oops. There we go. Suddenly, she came up a little three-legged table, all made out of solid glass. There was nothing on it but a tiny golden key, and Alice's first idea was that this might belong to one of the doors of the hall, but alas! Either the locks were too large or the key was too small, but at any rate, it would not open any of them. However, on the second round table, she came upon a low curtain she had never noticed before. Behind it was a little door about 15 inches high. She tried the little golden key in the lock, and to her great delight, it fitted. Is fitted a word? It fit? Alice opened the door and found that it led to a small passage. Not much larger than a rat hole. She knelt down and looked along the passage into the loveliest garden you ever saw. How she longed to get out of that dark hall and wander about among those beds of bright flowers and those cool fountains, but she could not even get her head through the doorway. And even if my head would go through, thought poor Alice, it would be of very little use without my shoulders. Oh, how I wish I could shut up like a telescope. Oh, how I wish I could shut up like a telescope. I think I could if I only knew how to begin. So I think this is the moment in Alice in Wonderland, if I'm not mistaken, where she like shrinks herself after she eats like the cupcake or something like that. For you see, so many out of the way things had happened lately that Alice had begun to think that very few things indeed were really impossible. There seemed to be no use in waiting by the little door, so she went back to the table, half hoping she might find another key on it, or at any rate, a book of rules for shutting people up like telescopes. This time she found a little bottle on it, which certainly was not here before, said Alice, and tied around the neck of that bottle was a paper label with the words, "Drink me," beautifully printed on it in large letters. It's all very well to say, "Drink me," but the wise little Alice was not going to do that in a hurry. "No, I'll look first," she said, "and see whether it's marked poison or not." For she had read several nice little stories about children who had got burnt and eaten up by wild beasts and other unpleasant things, all because they would not remember the simple rules their friends had taught them. Such as that a red-hot poker will burn you if you hold it for too long, and that if you cut your finger very deeply with a knife, it usually bleeds. And she said, and she had never forgotten that, if you drink much from a bottle marked poison, it is almost certain to disagree with you sooner or later. However, the bottle was not marked poison, so Alice ventured to taste it, and finding it very nice, it had in fact a sort of mixed flavor of cherry tart, custard, pineapple, roast turkey, toffee, and hot buttered toast. She very soon finished it off. There we go, now she shrinked in size. What a curious feeling, said Alice. I must be shutting up like a telescope. I don't understand, like, that reference there. And so it was indeed. She was now only 10 inches high, and her face brightened up, and the thought that she was now the right size for going through the little door into that lovely garden. First, however, she waited for a few moments to see if anything was going to shrink, she was going to shrink any further. She felt a little nervous about this, for it might end, you know, said Alice to herself, in my going out altogether like a candle. I wonder what I should be like then. She tried to fancy what the flame of a candle looks like after the candle is blown out, for she could not remember even having seen such a thing. After a while, finding that nothing more happened, she decided on going into the garden at once. But alas, for poor Alice, when she got to the door, she found she had forgotten the little golden key, and when she went back to the table for it, she found she could not possibly reach it. She could see it quite plainly through the glass. She tried her best to climb up the legs of the table, but it was too slippery, and when she had tired herself up with trying, the poor little thing sat down and cried. Come, there's no use in crying like that, said Alice to herself, rather sharply. I advise you to leave off this moment. Minute. What? I don't know. She generally gave herself very good advice, though she very seldom followed it. And sometimes she scolded herself so severely as to bring tears into her eyes, and once she remembered trying to box her own ears for having cheated herself in a game of how do you pronounce that? Croquet? I don't know. I'm probably butchering that. I don't know. She was playing against herself. Cricket. It's cricket, right? Is that how you spell cricket? She was playing against herself, for this curious child was very fond of pretending to be two people. Alright, so I think I'm just going to finish reading here. And let me just kind of skip ahead. I want to get to the garden, just to see a little bit of a different view. But so far, it seems like we're just essentially reading verbatim Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. And this is chapter 2, The Pool of Tears. So I'm not going to go too much further. I just want to see what happens next. So the main appeal of this game is if you're going to read this book anyway, it might be, it certainly is a better experience to play a visual novel instead. You get some very nice graphics, a little bit of animations, and Alice's right foot. Okay. And it's certainly more appealing to read in these little text boxes, at least in my opinion. and to see the little characters and their little facial expressions. It's kind of surprising though that a game like this would come out so late, 150 years later. I believe the original Alice in Wonderland was created in 1865. So today is today's year is 2016, so 151 years old. Wow. Alright, so I'm just trying to get to the next scene. I just want to see what happens next. I kind of do wish there was more graphics. It seems like we've been staring at Alice for a long time. She is making different facial expressions though, so I mean it's changing a little bit, but it seems like we haven't moved an inch for the last 5 minutes. Now we're shrinking again. I guess we got larger and then we shrunk back down the size. Will we ever get to the next scene? There we go. Okay, I think we went through the door. Her foot slipped and in a moment, splash, she was up to her chin in salt water. Alright, so I think I'm going to end this video here. So this game comes out in 2 days, on November 15th, I believe. Let me make sure on that. It is, yeah, November 16th. So if you guys liked what you saw and you are interested in reading the ancient book, Alice in Wonderland, be sure to pick this game up on Steam. It's not very expensive. I think I read it's going to be $5 or so, and it'll probably go on sale eventually. But yeah, I'll leave a link in the description below to the Steam store page. And thanks again to the developer. I can't talk right now. Thanks again to the developer for letting me try out the game. And hopefully this was educational for you guys who needed a first look on the game to see what you can expect. And yeah, thanks for watching and have a nice day.